First of all, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. This event basically set my entire life on fire, reporter Aaron Calvin said. This woman, Julia Reinstein, is a reporter, in quotes, at the failing pile of garbage known as BuzzFeed News. Her article seems to defend Aaron, who saw a good-looking all-American kid raise over $1 million for a charitable children's hospital. And Aaron Calvin thought, well, I'll destroy him because I can. I don't answer to anybody. I work for the media. How do you destroy a nation? You get a job, you get in a position where you can act as a force multiplier. There's no more powerful position if your goal is to undermine the foundations of a nation, destroy the unity of a nation, than to be a reporter. Reporters are supposed to be fair, unbiased, impartial. They're not. Or you can get a job as a judge, a district attorney, a public defender, any kind of attorney, and you can act in a way to undermine the foundation of a nation. As I go through this, note the language used when they describe the Aaron Calvin guy and the Carson King guy. They will refer to one's tweets as problematic or something like that, and they will refer to the other person's tweets in much harsher language. Guess which one is which? This is BuzzFeed News is anything but. And Julia Reinstein is not a reporter. She's a propagandist. She should be working at Pravda. The reporter fired in the Bush Light guy scandal says he felt abandoned by his employer. I still, in a lot of ways, support the Des Moines Register, fired reporter Aaron Calvin told BuzzFeed News. I just wish that they had believed in me. To his credit, apparently, if he followed standard practices, customs and practices of his employer, and they fired him for following the rules of the Des Moines Register was that you do background checks on people and you try to destroy their lives. If those are the rules, and the editor approved the story, then firing him, no, you just sacrificed the lamb. His editors. The 3 editors who approved the story should have been fired, and the policy should be immediately changed, and then you should apologize for being yellow journalism, fake news. Yeah, he got fired. He broke his silence Friday, telling BuzzFeed News he had been abandoned after following standard editorial practice. Standard editorial practice being do a 8-year search, find out tweets when the kid was 16, and then destroy his life, destroy the charity, get him fired. This event basically set my entire life on fire, reporter Aaron Calvin said. He was fired following criticism when he destroyed the good-looking all-American kid, Carson King, because he could. The guy, as a joke, held up a sign. He received $600. And this kid decided, oh, you know what? I'll donate that to a children's hospital. Could have kept the $600. Works as a security guard, not making a whole lot of money. $600 is probably a lot to him. Could have kept it, spent it on beer, had a good time. Nope, donates it to a children's hospital. Would you have done the same? Probably not. So Anheuser-Busch partners with him, said, hey, we'll match the donation. He raised over $1 million. But again, the narrative is white people bad. Though technically, people of European descent actually raise more money for charity. And conservatives, Republicans, raise more money for charity. They do more volunteer work. They spend more time volunteering at food banks, homeless shelters, men and women's centers, those kind of things, than people on the left. People on the left actually just want your money. They want other people to do the work. They want to tax other people. Republicans actually, and conservatives actually step forward and volunteer. Probably because a lot of them are Christians or influenced by Christianity, or they're just better people. Calvin, who worked as a BuzzFeed employee, so this is a BuzzFeed article, so you're reporting on one of your ex-employees who's probably going to be hired by you guys again very, very soon. Now, they call King's tweets, you see this R word, if I say it in the video too often, they'll bury the video. But they call your guy tweets unfortunate or offensive or something, but they use the more powerful R word for King. So this is a stochastic terrorism, which means it's a word association game that the left does, the liberal media biased reporters do, is they're associating this R word and this guy's name. So whenever they search Carson King's name, hold on, dog, this damning R word will come up. And so they showed his tweets when he was a 16-year-old. They show them in their entirety, but they only show some of the tweets of their reporter. There's no way that BuzzFeed is fair and impartial and unbiased. There's no way. They're destroying this kid even more. You think this article at first glance appears to be fair, impartial. It's not. It's just more. You're defending Aaron Calvin, and you're making it worse for Carson King. That's how badly they hate this all-American kid. He said he followed standard practice to destroy someone's life. Again, they use the R word to describe the jokes, but they don't. We're already a quarter through the article, and they haven't talked about Aaron Calvin's tweets. Odd. They talk more about Carson King. Still haven't mentioned Aaron Calvin. Keep going. Okay, here is what he sells out: the blessing and awareness of senior editors. So he sells out his three. The editorial board, the executive editor knew. So he sells out his bosses. So if you're a future employer, you look at this guy thinking, this guy will cut our throats. This guy would sell out his own mom. And the thing is, he has a right to be mad. If he was following standard practices, then he should not have been fired. His editors or whoever created the standard practice should have been fired. Should have been fired a long time ago. And they should just change their policy. Do not destroy someone's life. Do not look into their background. So they're focusing more on Carson King and the Tosh.0, more on him. He got fired by Anheuser-Busch from his charity. We're halfway through the article. Finally, we get to Calvin. Upon publishing the story, Calvin said he was immediately met with criticism from people across Iowa who accused him of trying to denigrate a local hero. I wonder why. And now here they start deflecting. But any media ethics debate about the newsworthiness of tweets written by someone when they were a teenager was soon swept aside by a tidal wave of harassment, doxing, and death threats. No, we can have that debate. You want to have the debate about ethics and journalism? Maybe it's time to have that debate. But they bring it up and then they brush it aside by deflecting and defending Calvin. Why don't you show the doxing and the death threats? Simply include that social media posts. It's odd that you don't provide this evidence. Strange. Or are you just going on Aaron Calvin's word? So then you would, if it was someone else, someone you didn't like, you would say alleged harassment, doxing, and death threats. You see how in every point they craft a narrative to further destroy King and try to defend and shore up Aaron Calvin. Further deflection. Soon, influential right-wing media figures, but they don't name them, also began... Okay, here's the thing. This is what the left media will do. They will call people right of center, right-wing, but oddly enough, they never call people left of center or left-wing. Partially is because they're liars, and they know they're liars. They know they're biased. It's media. 95% of the media is not media; it's propaganda. But also partially because they are so far left that they think they are moderates. They don't understand that they are far left. So everyone to them is far right, right of center. Finally, we're halfway through the article. We talk about Calvin's tweets where he used homophobic language, violent, sexist language against the police, racist language against black people, More homophobic language. He used some misogynist language, and he was comparing homosexuals to bestiality. Just, Aaron Calvin sounds like a bad guy. Sounds like a racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobe. And then they try to defend him further. It says, Calvin told BuzzFeed News that these tweets were frankly embarrassing. He would not have published them today. They were taken out of context and were being used to wield disingenuous arguments against me. So, they're defending him so hard, but don't you think the other guy could use a little defense too? Because he was a 16-year-old kid and you were an adult. You don't see the irony here, the hypocrisy, the lack of self-awareness? BuzzFeed is garbage. Aaron Calvin is garbage. The Des Moines Register is garbage. What this shows is that anything that comes out of BuzzFeed is to be thrown aside. Anything that comes out of the Des Moines Register, who has won several Pulitzer Prizes, and they've been around for over 100 years, well, you can assume that anything in the last 50 years from them is garbage. And they talk more about the barrage of death threats he received. Show them. Did Carson King also receive death threats? It's odd you don't talk about that. Okay. He had to run from these death threats that you're not providing any evidence for. They said he got doxxed, but it doesn't make sense. His name and his photograph are in the public. He's a reporter. His face and name, his employer and place of employment are all public records. So what exactly got doxxed? This whole campaign was taken up by right-wing ideologues and largely driven by that force. It was just, okay, here's what he does. This is a manipulative technique that these sociopaths will do. He says this: it was just a taste of what I assume that women and journalists of color suffer all the time. The reason he's doing that is because he wants the listener to think, oh, I'm going to defend women and colored journalists, and this guy is in that group, so if I defend them, I have to defend him also. It's just standard manipulation. More talk of this. So the third time you mentioned death threats, third or fourth time you mentioned death threats, and you got fired. What about Carson King? Didn't he get fired from Anheuser-Busch? Interesting. And the newspaper company doesn't say that they changed their policy, because let's be honest, they're not. They're not going to change their policy. Let me make one final point. If Carson King wasn't, all American kid of European descent, if he was Arab, Jewish, Chinese, Indian, African, do you think these reporters would have even mentioned his regrettable tweets? No, of course not, because part of it's the bigotry of lowered expectations, and part of it's just out-and-out racism. Anyway, you can check out this article on your own, and you can check out her Twitter. It's very interesting. These people are destroying the nation, and they will continue to destroy it unless we start speaking out against it. We need more people to pick up cell phones and do this kind of reporting, do this kind of commentary. And I know there are people out there who are listening who will do it much, much better than me. You have so many talented people out there. I talk to people in my comments who I can hear their arguments in the comments. I know they are very intelligent. They are way more intelligent than me. And I'm not just buttering up the listeners, because to be honest, most people aren't making it to 14 minutes. I'm just being honest. The people in my comments are smart people who I know could do this better than me. So you got to start fighting back. Pick up your cell phone. It's a $100 cell phone and a $50 Kindle and a little tripod, and you can do this kind of thing. And you can be the next Tim Pool. You can be the next Steven Crowder. Okay. This kind of stuff is just frustrating, depressing, but I feel like more people are waking up. More people are taking the red pill and starting to fight back. So I think there's a little speck of hope on the horizon. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I will see you next episode. Did I just assume their gender?